Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you gotta do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. Backbeat, the word is on the street that the fire in your heart is out. I'm sure you've heard it all before, but you never really had a doubt. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. And all the roads we have to walk are winding, and all the lights that lead us there are blinding. There are many things that I would like to say to you, but I don't know how. Because maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. And after all, you're my wonderwall. Today was gonna be the day, but they'll never throw it back to you. By now you should have somehow realized what you're not to do. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do about you now. And all the roads that lead you there were winding, and all the lights that light the way are blinding. There are many things that I would like to say to you, but I don't know how. I said maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. And after all, you're my wonderwall. I said maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. And after all, you're my wonderwall. I said maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. You're gonna be the one that saves me. You're gonna be the one that saves me.
Y'all, this is Recovery Revolution. This is an unanonymous peer group. We do this to try to put this out there so people can watch it and kind of take home from our discussion. We have some pretty good discussions in here, and I think it's beneficial that we can put it out online. I know as we start to add groups, we're not going to be fooling with that with everything, but I think at least for this one Sunday group, I think it's cool to have it online and give people something they can look back at, and give people, if they weren't able to be here, a chance to kind of also participate. So in the future, we'll start adding some stuff in the chats. some different things just to build off of the ideas each week. This is the barcode I have for Story Ministries. This is how you're able to support me if you want to in any way. This would be how you do it. This is the only way really to do it at this point right now. One thing on there that I would like to bring up is the quote up here. It's from Christopher Reeves. I've read this last time, but it says, "Once you choose hope, anything's possible." So I think the idea of putting this out there is just, look, this is my hope. You see my hope right here, and it's trying to build this peer group um, to be something that will not only draw people into recovery, but will help us build a community and function really well outside of this in our lives. Here's the cover 5 recovery journal from last week. It says here, if we're constantly looking back and living in regret, then we won't have any ability to look forward to living now. How is all Now is all that matters. Now is all that gets someone or something done. It's time to do it. It's time to get it done, leave the past lie, and move forward. And then down below there, it says inspiration comes from the unlikeliest places and during the most unlikely of times. But we need to be looking forward and watching, waiting when that time comes, or we may miss it. I think with this peer group, it's kind of evident the evidence of this coming together the way it did. It's kind of like we took the second the opportunity arose, we were able to jump in here and fill a hole and a void that was kind of created when one of our people left the group. So that's where we're at today, and I want to go ahead and I'll throw up our question for the day here too, if I can get it to come up. All right, photo, and here it is. So the idea of the week here is rebuilding or building off of our foundation. The first week of this was reemergence, coming out of the hole of addiction. Second week then was as we reemerged, building a foundation for what our life will be. And then last week we had kind of restructuring and getting the structure in mind. Once you build a foundation, you have to get the structure in your mind, and then it's just building it out. And so this week's about building that better structure. Think about a time when someone misunderstood or misjudged your intentions, or you felt that they did. What was the situation? Can you remember how it felt, and how did you respond? I think I'll just head off with this. I'll start it. Um, for me, I think one of the biggest situations where I was um, misjudged a lot would just be I was telling Joey, Angie, in another life, I was a youth pastor. And, sometimes people would look at you as a young youth pastor and they would think that you're not really worth a damn when they don't really even know you. And I think that was one of the hardest.
I think you may have pushed the wrong button.
I thought I pushed the wrong button. I was like, what happened? How are you, Angie?
I'm good, honey. How are you?
I'm great. Do you have a good
Well,
Christmas?
yeah. How about yourself?
It was good. It was really good. There he
Nice.
is.
Hey,
There we are. Sorry about that. Um, Anyhow, I don't know what I was saying, but basically in this building, we want to make sure as we rebuild our lives and we come out of this hole, we want to make sure that we're putting priorities in place. I know I talked a little bit about um, me kind of get my priorities misplaced, and it ended me up in the hospital for a few days and kind of derailed me a little bit. And it's because I wasn't doing the right rebuilding. I was maybe building too fast and not not looking at the pitfalls. So And then, like I said, though, as being misjudged as a youth pastor, that was always really hard to try to be the leader when everybody's looking at you like you're just the young kid that's doing the job. I mean, I was this when I was 18, 19 years old till I was about 28, I guess, that I did that. But, it was always misjudging. They would always look at you like the kid, you know. So,
Mm.
Angie, what about you? What do you got?
I was misjudged when it came to my workplace environment, you know, very much so. And until they seen that, my intentions and wasn't what they thought they was. And it's not, I know what it looks like on paper, but I'm very well qualified to do, you know, the
Yeah.
job.
Well, you're doing
And
it now, ain't you?
yeah, for sure. For sure. I
How
am.
how did it feel to you when they did misjudge you? Like, what was the
It was very disheartening, I have to say. I mean, because when people judge the book by its cover, you don't but that and I had to say that I knew that was their issue, not mine.
Mm.
yeah?
That I do have to say. I know without a doubt. I knew without a doubt then that was their issue, not mine. And then, it was talking to people and, like you and Amanda and other people that actually had to, just basically remind me of who I was at that time. So,
Mm.
because sometimes it can be, easily fed into with your mental.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh,
But
I got two people in the waiting room. It's not making noise anymore. Shit. Let me see if I can fix that as they come in here. But Joey, why don't you go ahead and take your shot at it, brother?
So I want to start by saying that, to reference in what you had on the screen a minute ago, you will not add a single minute to your life by worrying about the past. Um, and then I want to say that people judge us, people judge us based off our actions, but God judges us based off of our intentions and our actions. And as for a time when my intentions were misjudged, I can think most recently about when I was accepted into the drug court program in Geauga. Um, my brother was actually in the program before I was, and he asked the judge if they would help me. And I was in a bad, bad way at the time. I was homeless, strung out on heroin, and just on the brink of death. And by the grace of God, an act of providence, God doing for me what I could not do for myself, I was arrested. And I was invited into the drug court program, and it was something that I was afraid. I was so afraid because, like, as humans, we fear the unknown, and sobriety was a completely unknown thing for me. And I remember reading the packet and just thinking, well, this seems like a lot. I don't know if I can do it. And then I thought back to how highly my brother spoke of the drug court program and how the judge treated him, and it seemed like he was thriving. And I told myself, if my brother can do it, I know I can do it. My younger brother was an inspiration for me, and it ultimately pushed me to make the decision to sign up for the drug court program, because you have to be invited, but then you also have to accept the invitation. It's not something you're forced into, but it is a pretty serious commitment. It's an 18 to 24-month program. And I remember when I first came in there, one of the first questions they asked me and I was up in front of the courtroom, and it was already hard enough for me to get up in front of the judge and in front of the whole courtroom full of people, my peers and the people that are part of the treatment program and the treatment team, and speak. And the one of the head probation officers, Greg, cut me off when I was at the podium speaking about a really profound experience I had in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I believe I met the universe. And basically, he said that I was full of shit, and he said that I was trying to sell them something that they weren't interested in buying, and it hurt my feelings so bad because I was being so sincere. And I learned from that I was so worried about what people thought of me that I was coming off as insincere. Although I know that my intentions were pure and they were
Good.
right, they didn't know that. And it hurt my feelings. It really did, you know. So that's what I got for that.
Well, that brings up a one for me. I remember trying to find a church. It was like I did not know where to even start because I was so done with all the religious stuff, and it was like that whole judgy thing. It's
Mhm.
that you get people that just want to judge. They spend their whole life being judges, and nobody ever made them the judge. And it's just like same kind of idea as what other people thought. It was always what haunted me. Um, yeah, it's getting out of our own heads. Sometimes is how only way to grow. Jade, how you doing tonight? What do you got for us there? Did you let me throw the question up here for you?
Gotcha. I just came back from a stupid nature hike for my stupid mental health.
Well, that's
Uh,
not stupid.
no, oh, it's a joke. There's a guy on. If Amy was here, she would know what I was talking about. But she's not. Angie might. No, Angie doesn't know Amy either. How's everybody doing?
You.
Um, so let me check out the question. Oh
Yeah, it's
man.
basically like a time when our intentions were like misjudged.
Oh yeah, like the last 3 years of my life before I entered rehab. Yeah, that was like my ex was constantly like suspicious of me having all these nefarious intentions, and he'd sit there and say shit like, "Oh, I know you. I know like you've never even met me. What are you talking about? Because if this is what you think that I'm capable of doing, like we've never come face to face. You have no idea who I am." And I know that because of the expectations that you have for me, which is really frustrating for me because, like, even my family, when I was in the height of my addiction, like, even they had more trust in me than he did. Like, they knew that I'm not going to be going around stealing shit and fucking them over. Like, I pretty honest, like, hey, mom, I've been getting meth fronted to me for the last 3 weeks. Can I borrow $30 so I can just grab a bag? Because my dude's not gonna. And she was an enabler, so she'd be fine. But he was always thinking that I was doing something fucked up, and it was like, I'm not. I'm not that guy, man. So I think also a lot that's in recovery, a pretty common thing is having your intentions misread because you know, people see you in recovery and they're like, oh, you're just doing this for show. You're going to relapse and, you know, whatever. Or this is a temporary thing. You're not going to make it. Everybody relapses. And not all of us do. So,
Yeah,
how's everybody tonight, though?
good. Lynette, what about you? I got this. Think about a time when someone misjudged your intentions. Kind of how that make you feel.
I'm thinking about it. Can I go last? Because I'm trying to think of a time. I mean, there's
You
lots
there?
of times,
You're our
obviously.
last.
But let me. Oh, am I shit?
Yeah.
Hmm, okay. I got one for you. It's a good little story. I'll try to make it short. So I was in. I I have like 87 arrests, and I don't even know how many felonies. There's so many. But in the beginning, back in the day, like we're talking like maybe the early 90s, I had gotten in some trouble, whatever, and they gave me probation, and I never even went there. I couldn't, still to this day, can't tell you where that probation office is in that town. But So then I got caught again on the street, and they locked me up again, and then they sent me. They were gonna put me in drug court, and they sent me to rehab. So I went to rehab, and I had this roommate, and so there was this one. You go to groups all day, and you do all the things, the meals. You're not supposed to talk to the guys, and all this stuff. Well, there was this one group called the Survivor Group, and it wasn't talked about. You had to be invited to this group, and it was usually people who had been raped or somehow sexually assaulted. There was men and women in the group, and you weren't even. It was like Fight Club. Not only did you not talk about what went on in the group, you didn't even talk about the group itself. It was an unspoken thing. So it was well known in the rehab that three people in the rehab had HIV. They were HIV positive or had AIDS, one or the other. And remember, this was in the 90s, so it was the new thing, and you didn't live with it, right? And so my roommate decided that she was going to go out and fuck this guy on the patio after hours one night. And I knew the guy because he was in the survivor group, and he was one of the guys who had AIDS. And I know there ain't no condoms in rehab, right? So I said, you can't do that, And she's like, it'll be fine. We won't get caught. But I'm like, no, fuck getting caught. You can't do that. And I kept trying to tell her, and she was dead set on doing it. And I just didn't want her to die. And she wouldn't listen. And finally, she was like, why are you so dead set against it? What, do you like him? I'm like, trust me, I don't. And you couldn't pay me to sleep with him. And she was like, why? And I was like, I can't tell you why. All I can tell you is just don't do it. And as soon as I said that, she knew he was one of the guys that had AIDS, because she knew they people knew about Survivor Group AIDS, whatever. She's like, oh my God, he's one of the guys, isn't he? I said, I didn't say that. All I said was, don't do it. That's all I can say. So she didn't go out there, and she was freaking out. She couldn't believe she was that close, that he was going to put her in that position, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, the next day I get called to the office. That bitch went and told on me for talking about Survivor Group outside a group. So as I was getting in trouble for that, I'm looking at her like, are you kidding me right now? My intention was to save you. And you took it as I was being vicious in it and talking behind this guy's back to get I don't know what. And you left out the parts of the counselor how you were just about to go fuck them. You left that part out. And as I'm trying to plead my case, the van pulled up and they took me back to the county and sent me to prison. So yeah, that was a time. Is that what you mean?
Jeez, that was a lot.
Yeah.
No,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I meant for sure. It's just when were you misjudged? And I know a lot of
Oh,
coming out of recovery, we're so used to being judged. It's like our whole life was being judged. So then when we come out and we're trying to do things better and we're trying to do things the right way, it's like people don't always recognize that. And especially in recovery, it's so slow to see progress. It's like a snowball rolling down the hill, it starts small and
an old timer, an
you
old
can't
timer
see
once
it.
told me, when you have as many years clean as you had getting high and ruining people's lives, then you can start getting indignant about people not seeing your progress, and you can start giving them shit for still treating you the old way. So you have to have as many years clean as you've had high. And for me, I'll be dead by then. So
Yeah.
they're just trying to say like it doesn't happen overnight. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
think the idea that anybody's over our recovery besides us is fucking the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It's a lot of times in coming out of recovery, you got your family that they're wanting to see a change in you, and it's hard to see that change sometimes because it really does start inside us. And it sometimes with
Right.
some people it starts really slow. And during that can get off track and kind of get back to life. And I think these groups, that's what this kind of forced to keep us with our mind on where we were, so we don't repeat a lot of those same mistakes and end up back in the
Mm-hmm.
hole that we dug our way out of. We literally had to dig our way out of a hole. That's nobody did it for us. We've all done it ourselves. And we know how hard it was. So we should always take some pride in that whenever we feel the guilt or the shame. You know, Jelly Roll, he's my favorite artist, and that's why he
Me
took that
too.
guilt and shame and he he refocused it. And I think we teach our kids and we teach the other ones around us, anybody younger than us, we should view ourselves as teaching them with our life, being a good example and trying to, set a stage for a better future. Because for real, if we can get our kids and keep them from making a lot of the mistakes we made, we are going to leave the world better. And that's really all that matters. That's all that matters at the end of
Mhm.
the day is doing that. Um, I'll go kind of a little bit back to some of our stuff from foundation as we move along here. We've still got a little bit of time, and the foundations part of our study, I guess if you want to call it a study, just these kind of weekly thoughts. When we were making that foundation, like what was your all's number one focus? Because I think it could help. Besides yourself, obviously, what was it that you could do that gave you the most, I don't know, the best feeling, the most, whatever the word I'm trying to think of, the most incentive for doing it. Just jump in whenever you want.
Um, I think self care is really important, and I don't mean just like you know, I don't mean like the surface stuff. I mean like getting your health taken care of and stuff like that. Like because we beat our bodies up for so many years. And as I got medicated and started getting like my sugars under control because I'm diabetic and started doing all these things with my health and I started to feel better inside. That was a big thing. That is so important. Getting regular, and I had my teeth done. That was big too. I had all my teeth pulled out. Got me some pretty teeth, because I had meth mouth in the worst way. And that was a big incentive because that took months to happen. Months over. By the time it was all said and done, it was quite a few months, and that was an incentive to keep going because my teeth are coming. I'm gonna have a good smile, stuff like that. That was huge for me. Um, I don't know. I don't know. There was lots of times when I didn't feel incentive. I'll tell you that. Lots of
I'd
times
say
when I
one that
didn't
I've been
feel
trying to do is like keep a timeline on relationship maintenance. It's kind of like something I never
it.
did before. I never thought of relationships in that way. Like I've always, if I'm your friend, I'm like always your friend. Even if we haven't talked for 10 years, I'm your friend, right? But I've been trying in my recovery kind of take that to another level and try to maintain all my relationships and actually keeping track of it. Like even with my kid, whenever I'm with her, just putting down the date and just, what did we do that day? Just to kind of
That's
keep
cool.
a track of, okay, well, if this relationship is going on a downhill, kind of a downhill, what can I do to refocus it? What can I do to make it better, to rise better? And I can do that by keeping track of, well, what did we do this day? Just a little something like I'm trying to keep a timeline of everything now. I'm not overtaxing myself by thinking about timelines, but having a good timeline for your relationship maintenance, for your vehicle maintenance, for your home maintenance, and just kind of hitting those points. Um, and then you really get that once you start getting that list of things checked off, man, it makes a big difference. I mean, it really
And
does.
then if you mess up, and then if you something goes wrong, you can look back and start saying, all right, what were we doing that, what caused this little, problem? That makes good sense to do that, especially with
Yeah.
your kid. Yeah, I like that idea.
Let's see if I could turn my camera around. I wanted to show you guys here. Let's see if I can just flip it this way. This is, I don't know if you can see it. And I'm not
Mm.
showing this to brag at all. I'm just showing this is kind of like that's my wins list. And you can see there's a lot of about half the shit checked off, and then about half the shit is still waiting to be done. But when I look at this, like I can look down, I can see I've gone through peer support training. I put a camera, a rear backup camera in my car with like a little system to hook up to Apple, fuel pump on the truck, chairs and tables painted. It's just like all that shit. Truck AC compressor done, brakes fixed on the car. It's like all those things. If I keep track of those, then I can look back when I'm feeling like a piece of shit. I can look back and be like, oh no, no, here I am. Here I am. I'm getting
Mm.
something done.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a good
Somebody else
idea.
want to hit that one?
That, that is exactly what I use Rosebud for, because you can't go in and edit your Rosebud entries after the fact.
Mhm.
Like, once you complete the entry, that's it. So I can go all the way back to the beginning of March this year and see every single day since then. I have made an entry about what I'm doing, what I'm thinking about, who I'm with, how I felt about it, and I can see I can see concrete evidence of how my responses to situations have changed, how I have emotionally matured, how I've started to do things differently, like all the ways that in the last year I have grown. And I'm gotta say, I'm not to brag, but I'm pretty impressed with myself. Like
Yeah.
I've made a lot of strides in the last 300 some days that I'm pretty proud of. Like I've started getting real solid on my boundaries and real solid on my standards for both myself and other people. And I've gotten a lot more confident. I value myself a lot more. And I've figured out essentially what I want, like out of myself and life and other people. Like, I realize I might not get that, but it gives me something to work towards. And I'm pretty fucking happy about that. Excuse my language. Like,
Yeah.
ah, and it's like night and day. Like, I look at the way I responded to similar situations, like, not even a year ago, and the way I'm responding to things that happen now, and I'm like, I'm a grown up now. Nice.
That's
That's funny you
awesome.
say that about it being grown up. That's what it is. It's like once we start taking them lists, we're like, yeah, now you can't call me a kid anymore. Now I'm taking care of my shit. So not
Right.
that anybody ever really called me a kid, but yeah, you know what I mean. Anybody else got anything to add on that one?
I do.
I thought Rosebud
Um,
was a person.
Oh, no, that's my AI journal thing.
Oh, okay. I always thought it was a person. I don't know why I thought that. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
um, you know, I kind of got to agree with Lynette. The self-care thing was major for me because I was so full of shame and guilt when I came into recovery that I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror.
Mhm.
So I started with, and this is going to sound probably silly to some people out there, but um, when I acknowledged the way I spoke to myself was very unkind, and I would write that down on paper and I would pray about it, and I would start to make corrections with that. And I've shared this before. I don't know if everyone's heard it, but I started doing research on the damage we do to our neural pathways in active addiction and how to repair those neural pathways. And
Yes,
started
sir.
doing this little regimen. I learned that it takes 28 days to create a new habit. So every morning I would wake up and I would brush my teeth with my left hand because I'm right-handed. I would take 25 exaggerated breaths in through my nose and out through my mouth. And then I would look at myself in the mirror or try to and say 10 nice things to myself. And for the first 2.5 weeks, I couldn't hold my gaze. But as the month went on and progressed, I was able to look at myself. And then, because what it does is it goes past your frontal cortex into your subconscious and it plants these seeds. And even if you don't believe what you're saying, you start to. And that's something that really was a game changer for me because our perception quite literally shapes our reality. And
That's
from
right.
there, I started setting small goals to Daniel's point and to Jade's point, and I was able to start tracking the progress that I made, and it started really small when I was in treatment. I had three goals. I wanted to reobtain my license because it had been like 7 years since I had a valid driver's license. I wanted to get a bank account and I wanted to buy a vehicle. And I had no idea how I was going to accomplish these things. I just knew that I wanted to. And then you take small steps, and eventually I was able to accomplish these things. And I thought, wow, you could apply that same mentality to anything. And a little bit of hope goes a long way. That's why it's important to track these things and write things down and put dates next to things, because then we're able to go back and look at the progress we've made and say, hey, look, I can apply that same mentality to anything. We are literally capable of anything. The only thing that stops us from doing things is us and what we let when we let what other people think about us or what we think other people think about us get in the way of our progress. That's what I got. Pass.
Yeah.
Mr. Doom User, what is your name?
My name is
Thank
Joey.
you. Joey,
Oh,
I
how do
love
I?
that, dude. I freaking love that. I
Thank you.
love
Thank
that.
you. How
I'm
do
gonna
I
do the
fix my
mirror thing
name?
because I have trouble with that. Oh no, I have trouble with that too, and I can put makeup on, right? But I can't just look. Isn't that
Mm-hmm.
weird? Yeah, I'm
It's
gonna
not
try
weird.
that. And and they say what you fear you'll create. So you have to control your thoughts, control what comes out of your mouth, because you will
Mm-hmm.
create, like you said, we create our own reality. And so I work on like saying positive, because I say, but what do I know? I'm just a junkie whore. And I stopped saying that. 'Cause I'm not
Mm-hmm.
No,
that. I have trouble
instead.
going to meetings and identifying as a drug addict because
Mm-hmm.
I have a disease of addiction, but I am no longer a junkie whore. You see what I'm saying?
Daniel and I were just talking about that before the meeting. I've been made a new creation, and that's,
That's right.
the more you
Yep, I'm
say
a child of
that,
God.
exactly, and the more you say that, the more you start to believe it, and the more it becomes true. I want to share one more thing with you
Yeah.
guys. There's a study, because I like to know why about things. I like to see evidence, because there's something called confirmation bias, and it's our brains are wired to
Yep,
continually search for evidence that supports our beliefs. So there's
that's right.
studies that have been done where like, I don't know, it was done at like MIT or some college, where a scientist took these beakers of water, and they did a
Oh,
control study where they spoke life into some beakers of water
yep,
and they froze them, and then they looked at them under a
yep.
microscope, and it made these beautiful geometric patterns, and then they spoke hate into other beakers of water and it made these ugly things. That is evidence enough for me to know that our words are powerful. The power of life and death
That,
lies in the
yeah.
tongue.
That was a Japanese guy. I saw that. Yeah, and some of them they wrote like the words on, and then they would look,
Mm-hmm.
and then they wrote like hateful words on. Yes, and just they first wrote and thought that was the thing, and then when they actually just spoke it and it happened too, that's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Like that
Yeah.
was like and confirmation bias. Yes, I totally agree. We're so on the same wavelength, me and you, Joey. I love it.
Yeah, that's
That's awesome.
I
interesting.
love
Them studies they did about the water. They also would do studies to see like water has memory.
Yes,
It
it
actually
does.
has memory within it, and it can hold information, which I thought was so cool. But if you
Yeah.
think about, yeah, like even just listening to positive music, if you think about that alignment, it's happening within your body. All of your cells are full of water. I mean, you're mostly water. Your body's 80% or 90% water. So if you align all those cells, I would imagine, it would make a difference. So definitely interesting to see and think about. I've heard the one where like a teacher, they would bring in like an apple, and they would have like the kids, they'd have the two apples, and they'd have the kids speak to the one apple and be like really mean to it, and then they have them speak to the other one, and they would like do it for however long, and they would cut the apple open after like a few days or a week, and they could see that the other apple was actually starting to rot faster just
Mhm.
because of that. And I think it has to do with that alignment.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh,
Yeah,
we
I like
lost
that.
Joey too. Where's Jay? We lost Jade
Oh
and Joey.
no.
They're dropping like flies. Angie, did you want to answer that one? It was just kind of
um,
like as we building this foundation.
Yeah, my biggest thing was I didn't want to be controlled by anything. That was my biggest drive. Is I don't like to be controlled
Yeah.
whatsoever, and I was allowing something to control me. I was allowing something else to control me, and that was on me to fix. And something that made a big difference in my life, a big impact on my children, the lives that I wanted to make better, but I had to drop everything and everyone and all of the negatives that I believed, all of the negative, everything, and had to start fresh. And that was my biggest drive was, I would say, my family. But I had to know that it was my own doing that I had to control, in order to make that better.
Yeah.
So that is my biggest drive, is not being controlled by anything other than something that is going to bring prosperity into my life.
Nice.
When I was 16, my father said, "You can do anything you want with your life. You just have to be willing to work hard to get it." That's when I decided when I die, I want to be remembered for the life I lived, not the money I made.
Once upon a younger year, when all our shadows disappeared, the animals inside came out to play. Went face to face with all our fears, learned our lessons through the tears, made memories we knew would never fade. One day my father, he told me, "Son, don't let it slip away." He took me in his arms, I heard him say, "When you get older, your wild heart will live for younger days. Think of me if ever you're afraid." He said, "One day you'll leave this world behind, so live a life you will remember." My father told me when I was just a child, "These are the nights that never die." My father told me. They can't put out, carve your name into those shining stars. He said, "Go venture far beyond the shores. Don't forsake this life of yours. I'll guide you home no matter where you are." One day my father, he told me, "Son, don't let it slip away." When I was just a kid, I heard him say, "When you get older, your wild heart will live for younger days. Think of me if ever you're afraid." He said, "One day you'll leave this world behind, so live a life you will remember." My father told me when I was just a child, "These are the nights that never die." My father told me. These are the nights that never die. My father told me.
All right. So here wanted to end up kind of tie everything together here from earlier is 10 things that we can control about ourselves. And well, we can really only control these 10 things about our lives. And it's how I talk to myself. We like Jody was just saying, looking into the mirror and talking to yourself the right way. And smiling more, smiling even when you don't feel like it. It teaches your brain that you're happier than you really are. It tells you, it's the same as being positive. When you stay positive, you get more positive. It's because you're looking for the good things, remembering the good things. And then trying new things, trying out things that we never thought that we liked, but things that we find out once we do try them that we love doing them, like journaling. That has changed my life. So now I'm trying to get everybody around me to journal because it's done so much for me. I know if it can do so much for me, it can do something for others. And it's not even just writing when I'm talking about journaling. There's video journaling, and you can do journals all kind of different ways. You can do art journals where you don't actually write anything. You can just literally create pictures that represent how you feel. There's a lot of different ways you can do that. Moving the body, getting exercise. It's $20, I think. Actually, I think you might be able for $10 be able to get their cheapest membership at Planet Fitness. And just about anybody can probably afford $10 if you make it a priority and get out and get moving the body, feel a little better. Feeling our feelings and actually recognizing them. I've been doing this a lot lately. When I get around people, especially in crowds, I will start to get these feelings that I know aren't mine. And I'm starting to, when I get these strange feelings, like feelings of aggression or feelings of excitement or feelings of, I don't know, all kind of feelings. I'm feeling other people's feelings. So it's being more cognizant of what do we feel from others, and that can help us better know how we can respond to their feelings. Eating healthy, it's a very important one. Getting enough sleep is super important. I think that's kind of what led me into the hospital past couple weeks, was just not getting the right sleep, not going to bed when I should, and getting up and having a good schedule. Asking for help even when we don't want to. We got to make it happen. Doing our best when we show up. Showing up should always be us trying to do our best in what that is. And the very last one is spending time in nature. If we would just spend a little more time, out in the grass and around the trees and around the water. We were just talking about how powerful the energy is in water and how it can hold energy. I think it's important that we get the benefit of that. It's really pretty about getting out in nature. It's really nice to see something like this, but that's not even nature. That's on a card. But it just goes to show we can be tricked. We can think that we're getting something when we're really not. You think you're getting a picture there, or you're getting an actual picture of something and not just a picture of a picture. It's the same way with everything in life. We can experience the real thing or the fake thing. That's why these meetings, I want to bring it all around and kind of have in person and online. So it kind of brings it all around to where we're not just getting one aspect of something, just the online connection. I want to actually come together and get real connection, and we only do that by meeting one another and hanging out. Oh, February. Amanda is going to be in Columbus in February. I forget the exact date. I'll get the better time on that. I know it's going to be a Friday that she's going to be available. I think it was toward the end of February, if I'm not mistaken. But we want to do a meet and greet with her. So essentially, we'll plan it at a restaurant or somewhere where we can have food, and we'll get it catered, and we'll meet. We'll get to meet Amanda and everybody kind of get together, and we'll do our group then that Friday instead of Sunday. Or no, you know what? We'll just add another group. We'll just add for that week. We'll just have a Friday and a Sunday group, and just have double up. So that's going to be in February. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention uh, was we're probably going to do March. I wanted to do January for our interview portions, though I am going to interview Amanda when we're there. Our first interview will probably be with Joey, because I would like to know more about what he's doing. I'd like all of us as a group to kind of help support him if we can and how we can. So I'd like him to be our first interview. And so how the interview portions are going to work is I want to do a long form interview with people, which will be, you know, an hour, 2 hour, and that will be completely separate. And then we will have that person on the Sunday night show. I call it them shows because that's the way I'm looking at them. I'm trying to get it something that's interesting that makes people want to come back. But uh, I'm going to have those interviews live. So we'll do like a 15, 20-minute live interview where we just can kind of all talk to them and ask them questions. But then I'll have a long form interview that will be separate that we can watch. So those are the three exciting things, you know, the new things we're going to do with 2026. We're going to kind of start with that. And then we have some other ideas of things too. I know when I say we, there's not that many of us yet, but I talked to Joey a little bit about doing a men's group, and I know I talked to Angie and Jade about doing like a women's group. That would be like a midweek type of a group. So those we're going to talk more about, but I would like to try to get some funding before we start those. So maybe we're looking at probably March also on that March or maybe even as late as May. But I definitely want to get them in there because there are some stuff that you as women are going to want to talk about. And then there's stuff that we as men are going to want to talk about and that we'll want to keep separate. So we'll do that. And we'll kind of hold those groups to about 25. That way, if we get over 25, then we'll just add somebody. So like me and Joey would do ours. And so once we got 25, we'd have to add another person to kind of, because we want these groups to be whoever's leading the group is kind of like the peer supporter. So they would talk with everybody that's part of the group. And I'd like to get some funding behind that before we're actually asking people to do that. So we'll just see how that goes. That's a A-okay then for me. That's what I got. Y'all have a good week.